Hi guys, so Steph's on Gaming, and we are reacting to 10 Deadly Dinosaur Encounters You Have Zero Chance Surviving by Spino Snack. Now, I've seen a few of his other videos, but I haven't made reaction videos to them. I watched them with my friends, and a lot of it is, misinformation. So, I am going to be pinging Spino Snacks in this video to hopefully encourage him to improve his content. This is criticism, this is not hate. But, yeah.
Do you think you could survive a dinosaur? Well, let me tell you 3 quick things. First, the average human can punch with about 150 pounds of force. Second, a T-Rex could bite with the force of 12,000 pounds. That's literally the weight of a school bus crushing down on you. And third, the dinosaur that we're talking about first today, it hunted in packs and could run faster than Usain Bolt while weighing as much as a rhino. And that's just number 10 on our list of dinosaurs you have absolutely zero.
Okay, I'm going to take a guess. Is this Velociraptor or Deinonychus? Velociraptor and even Deinonychus, if you're in, very good shape, you can probably beat one.
Chance of surviving. But before we crush your dreams of being built different, hit subscribe because only 2% of you watching right now are subscribed. And you're going to want to stick around for number 1. Trust me, it makes...
And when was this made? 1 hour ago. Okay, so if there's any outdated information, I can't excuse it for being outdated because this is made today, so it should be up to date.
All the other ones look friendly. You know how in horror movies, the protagonist always says at least they hunt alone, right before discovering there's actually a whole pack? Well, meet Mapusaurus, the 40-foot long nightmare that hunted in groups.
Okay, this is reasonable speculation.
Here's the thing about Mapusaurus. Scientists discovered an entire bone bed of them together in Argentina. That's right, these 6-ton monsters were social. And if you're thinking,
well, monsters is a bit dramatic, but okay.
I could just hide from one. Let me crush that dream real quick. A single Mapusaurus had a skull longer than your entire body, packed with serrated teeth the size of bananas. But wait, it gets better, or worse if you're the prey, which in this case you will be. These predators had specialized feet built for running, letting them...
So what does that have to do with you hiding from one? You said that so you can hide from one. There's nothing you said means you can't hide from one.
Move way faster than any human despite weighing as much as an elephant.
If you're going to say that you can't hide from them, can you at least explain why? Because you just didn't. You said they have a long skull and some crazy teeth. You didn't explain why you can't hide from them.
And remember, there's never just one. Studies show they likely coordinated their attacks like modern wolves, but
well, there is some debate on how they actually hunted. Was it a loose gang like Komodo dragons, or was it like wolves? We can't say for 100% either way.
Imagine if wolves were the size of city buses and could bite through concrete. Speaking of biting, their jaw strength was so intense that paleontologists found bite marks on the bones of titanosaurs. You know, those 100-ton sauropods that make...
100 tons, is that a bit much? I'm honestly not sure.
Elephants look like house cats. Your puny human bones wouldn't even count as a snack to these dinosaurs. But the scariest part, Mapusaurus had surprisingly advanced binocular vision. That means not only could they hunt in packs, but they could accurately judge distances while chasing you. So no, hiding behind that tree wouldn't help.
Okay, so you actually explain why you can't hide. There you go. But what if you hid under, what if you hid in a cave that it can't reach you? There are other ways to hide besides hiding behind a tree, so you could still hide from it.
They'd see you, coordinate with their pack members, and, well, let's just say it wouldn't be a very long chase for you. The only good news is that if you encountered a pack of Mapusaurus, you probably wouldn't have time to realize how thoroughly screwed you were. But if you think pack hunting is scary, wait until you see what our next dinosaur could do.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to say 2 things. Okay, well, maybe that's not the correct usage of the word first off. But you get my point. So, 2 things to say. 1, why are you using the Jurassic Park sound effects? And 2, sorry to burst your bubble, but Velociraptor is something that a fit person can beat. It's like a fox or a coyote. It's not an apex predator. It's not like the Jurassic Park ones. It's smaller and with hollow bones. If you gave it a really good kick, you could probably break most of its bones.
its own. Remember that clever girl from Jurassic Park? Well, the real thing was actually way worse.
So, okay, and that was, even though it had feathers, it did not have enough feathers.
Everything Jurassic Park taught you about velociraptors. Sure, they've got the clever girl part right, but reality is actually way...
Is this AI generated? And it's not even correct. Like, it should have a tail fan.
more terrifying. Well, these killers weren't quite as tall as the movies
Exactly, so if this is the size it is in real life, you could just stomp it to death.
showed. What they lacked in height, they made up for in pure nightmare fuel.
What does that even mean? What sort of educational value do you get from that statement?
Talk about that famous killing claw everyone knows about.
The killing claw is on the foot, not the hand.
Most people think it was just for slashing. Nope, that curved 3.5-inch razor was actually a precision tool. Velociraptors didn't just slash randomly like some prehistoric Jason Voorhees. They used these hooks to lash onto prey, holding on while their other weapons went to work. And
that is actually true, but again, you were showing a raptor which has too many scales.
Speaking of other weapons, their arms weren't the useless little T-Rex twigs you might expect. These things were basically switchblades attached to surprisingly strong muscles. Scientists found that their arm strength was comparable to modern eagles. You know, those birds that can crush bone with their grip alone. But here's where it gets really interesting. Velociraptors had a brain-to-body ratio similar to modern primates. So translation, they weren't just fast, they were calculating.
Now, I'm not sure what your source is. They said something like that in Jurassic Park, so is your source Jurassic Park? I've never heard this outside of Jurassic Park.
Fossil evidence shows that they could process complex spatial information and probably even plan attacks. Oh, and remember how I mentioned they weren't as big as in the movies? That actually makes them more dangerous.
No, it doesn't. It does not. It does not make them more dangerous. It makes them less dangerous, way less dangerous.
Not less. Their smaller size meant they could move faster, hide better, and yes, fit through doors if they had to go through.
Okay, this is literally Jurassic World Alive. This is a video game. Why are you... You said that the real raptors are different than the movies, so why are you showing the movie raptors? I don't get it. And, like, you were showing Prehistoric Planet, which is a great documentary. Just keep showing that. You have no reason to keep showing Jurassic Park when you've already said it's wrong. And I'm pretty sure the Jurassic Park velociraptors are still faster than real velociraptors. Because Velociraptor isn't as fast as you might think it was.
Their speed estimates put them at around 40 miles per hour.
I don't think that's correct. I could be wrong. I don't think that's correct. Like, I've heard that Velociraptor is not as fast as people think, and the name is misleading.
And sprinting. For comparison, Usain Bolt tops out at about 27 miles per hour. The only advantage that you would have is that they were covered in feathers.
That does not give you an advantage. That actually makes the Velociraptor a more difficult opponent because it has something to protect its skin.
So at least when you get eviscerated, it would look fabulous. Speaking of getting torn apart,
did you just show the Atrociraptor from Dominion?
our next dinosaur took the whole bite force thing to a whole new level. Hope you weren't too attached to having bones. Because remember when you were a kid and thought T-Rex was the ultimate killing machine? Well, meet its cousin who might actually have been better at...
And, okay, so two things. You played the Jurassic Park T-Rex sound for whatever reason, and T-Rex had a stronger bite than Gorgosaurus, so I don't know what you're going to say.
You into lunch. Gorgosaurus wasn't just another big theropod with anger issues. It was basically what you would get if you optimized a dinosaur specifically for murder. First off,
what does that even mean? Dinosaurs don't murder, they hunt for food. That's like saying if a lion kills a zebra, that's murder. No, it's trying to feed itself or feed its pride.
Address those jaws. While other dinosaurs were out there developing all sorts of fancy hunting tricks, Gorgosaurus went with the most simple approach possible, having the strongest bite force physically possible.
That's more or less what T-Rex did.
Talking about enough power to turn a car into a compact, about 42,000 newtons of force. For comparison, a saltwater crocodile's bite is about 16,000 newtons, and those things are already overkill. But here's where Gorgosaurus gets really unfair. Unlike its most famous cousin, the T-Rex, this thing was built for speed. Paleontologists found that his leg bones were specifically adapted for rapid pursuit, with reinforced joints that let it turn without losing momentum. Imagine a freight train that could corner like a sports car. And the real kicker, fossil evidence shows specialized muscle attachments suggesting they could actually grab and manipulate prey. So not only...
Well, those arms are not as useful as the Velociraptor's arms because, in proportion to its body size, they aren't the same.
Could it catch you, but it can literally hold you in place while those bone-crushing jaws went to work. And just to make sure you're thoroughly terrified, they had surprisingly advanced sensory abilities. Their brain cavity shows enlarged.
Okay, so far this video is not as bad as some others I've seen from him. I have seen some crazy, statements in his videos. This one's not as bad so far, but it has some issues as I pointed out.
Olfactory bulbs, meaning they could smell prey from literally miles away. Plus, their eye sockets suggest binocular vision on par with modern eagles. So yeah, you couldn't outrun it, you couldn't hide from it, and you couldn't fight back. But hey, at least it would be over quick. Those jaws were actually efficient enough to cause instant death. How thoughtful of it. But if you think size is what makes a dinosaur deadly, our next entry is about to change your mind. Sometimes the worst thing—
Okay, absolutely not. No, this is... Okay, I take back what I said. This is just ridiculous. He's probably going to start glazing Jurassic Park or something because a real-life compy is basically harmless. This is just... No. No, this is like... If I said a velociraptor is like a coyote or a fox, this is like a house cat. Like, it's even less dangerous.
Come in small packages. Oh look, it's just a chicken-sized dinosaur. How cute. Famous last words right there. Compsognathus.
Wow, that's so famous. This thing would have been hunting insects, not large prey.
Or Compy might be the smallest dinosaur on our list. But
You could literally stomp it. It's not... I'm gonna guess what you're gonna say. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm gonna take a guess that you're gonna say it's a pack hunter, which... Like in Jurassic Park, which is just... No. This thing is built for eating insects and, lizards, small mammals, I suppose, not big prey.
basically what would happen if you combined a velociraptor's attitude with a piranha's appetite, then gave it the speed of a cheetah. Let's talk about why size definitely doesn't matter here. These little terrors had a few tricks that would make your day go from bad to worse real quick. For starters, they hunted in groups, and
Yep, I predicted it. I would like to see your evidence if you're not just pulling this from Jurassic Park and you actually mean this scientifically. Where is your source? Because again, the only place I've seen this said is Jurassic Park or World. These things are built for eating insects, lizards, small mammals, that sort of thing. They are not built for hunting large prey like humans. There would be zero threat here.
not just small groups either. Fossil evidence suggests they moved in packs of dozens, maybe even hundreds.
Yeah, that's just... I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. Again, if for some reason I'm wrong, please tell me your source. But as far as I know, this is just blatant misinformation.
Imagine being swarmed by 100 prehistoric murder chickens.
100 in one pack is just outrageous. Yeah, this is what I mean when he says he just makes up the most ridiculous misinformation, because this is just... I've never heard of this. This is not reasonable for a little insect hunter. This is just... I would bet a pretty decent sum of money that he just made this up. Or took it from Jurassic Park.
Each one running at least 40 miles per hour. But here's the really messed up part. Their teeth weren't just sharp.
And you could see it hunting like a small animal. Like, not a big animal.
They were specifically designed for efficiency. Each tooth curved backward at exactly 2/3 of its height, creating what scientists call the perfect grip-in-rip mechanism. Translation, once they bit down, that flesh wasn't coming loose until they wanted it to. And if you're thinking, I'll just kick them away, good luck with that. These guys had some of the strongest leg bones proportional to their size of any dinosaur we've ever found.
Again, if this is true, that doesn't mean much. That could have been a defense mechanism. Like, that doesn't mean it hunted large prey.
It can literally bounce off trees, rocks, or whatever you tried to hide behind parkour style. We know this because their leg structure is surprisingly similar to modern parkour athletes. Just, with more teeth.
What the heck is that supposed to mean?
That's a joke, obviously, but they were really good at parkour. The worst part, they were smart. Like, really smart.
Again, what is your source for this? A lot of these things are just repeats of Jurassic Park, and if you're being serious about this, you should probably provide a source.
Their brain-to-body ratio was off the charts, suggesting they could problem solve on the fly. So while you're trying to figure out how to escape, they're already 3 steps ahead of you, coordinating with their pack to cut off your escape route.
Imagine being like a little insect hunter in the Mesozoic period, and you die, and people dig up your bones, and people then act like, oh, this monster hunted in giant swarms and could take down large prey, when in reality, the largest thing you ever ate was probably a rat. That's basically what's happening here.
At least with the bigger dinosaurs, you'd be dead before you knew what hit you. They'd take their time. Death by 1,000 bites.
Yeah, he's literally showing Jurassic Park Lost World, which is... This is just not how Compies or Compsognathus actually works in real life. These are little insect hunters, little lizard hunters. These are not apex predators. This is like if a bunch of... This is like if a pack of house cats tried to take on an elephant. It's ridiculous.
But make it Jurassic. Speaking of coordinated attacks though, wait until you hear about our next dinosaur. Imagine if someone took everything terrifying
I don't know what kind of sound that was, but that sounded like a kaiju almost.
about the Compy and make it Jurassic. Speaking of coordinated attacks though, wait until you hear about our next dinosaur. Imagine if someone took everything
Is that like Rodan's roar, but like with some weird remix sound? I don't know.
About the Compy and scaled it up to the size of a building. Forget what you saw in Jurassic Park. No,
Scale it up to the size of a building? That's just ridiculous.
Dilophosaurus didn't spit venom, and it didn't have that fancy neck frill. But before you breathe a sigh of relief, let me tell you why the real thing was actually worse.
And that is true, because the real thing was bigger by a long shot. Although you did say earlier that size doesn't matter, so is there going to be any consistency?
20-foot long early Jurassic killer was basically what you would get if you asked evolution to design the perfect slasher movie villain. Here's the thing about being one of the first large predatory dinosaurs. You get to write the rules, and Dilophosaurus wrote a whole horror movie screenplay. Those distinctive double crests on its head, they weren't just for show. Recent studies suggest they were actually reinforced impact weapons. Think of it like a biological battering ram that
Yeah, I have some serious doubt.
could crack bone.
Okay, and this is just the Deinonychus from Jurassic World Evolution. This video keeps getting worse. The longer it goes, the worse it gets. And we're not even, like, halfway through. Yeah, we're not even halfway. Man. The longer this goes, the worse it gets. This is the Deinonychus, which is not even accurate, from Jurassic World Evolution. And why would these be ramming weapons? These are crests used for display. We don't even know what the entirety of the crest looks like, so how are you going to say that it's reinforced? The crest on their head is like fragmentary. You can't just say that it's reinforced when we don't even know what it looks like, because it's fragmentary.
On impact. But that's not even the creepy part. Dilophosaurus had something most other predatory dinosaurs didn't. Uniquely flexible wrist joints. Doesn't sound scary, right? Well, this meant it could grab and manipulate prey with surgical precision.
Surgical precision is a bit of an exaggeration, but flexible wrist joints, are you trying to say they can pronate their wrists? Because theropods cannot pronate their wrists.
Talking about a dinosaur that could literally hold you down while it worked. And those arms weren't just for grabbing. Fossil evidence shows specialized muscle attachments suggesting that they could twist and tear like a human's could. And the real nightmare fuel comes from their hunting strategy. Unlike later predators that relied on pure bite force, Dilophosaurus used what paleontologists call slash and bleed tactics. Their long curved teeth were designed for creating deep bleeding wounds rather than crushing bones. They'd slash their prey, then follow it until it weakened from blood loss. And just to make it extra unfair, they had some of the best night vision of any early dinosaur. Those huge eye sockets weren't just for looks, they contained massive eyes adapted for hunting in low light. So no, hiding in the dark wasn't gonna save you. So while it couldn't spit venom like in the movies, the reality is much worse. It didn't need to. It would just follow you patiently until you couldn't run anymore. But if you think that's a bad way to go, wait until you meet what I like to call the freight train with teeth. And trust me, this next one gives a whole new meaning to the word unstoppable. You know how every action movie has that one unstoppable force that just keeps coming? Well, Torvosaurus was basically that, but worse.
This is the first time I think I've seen Torvosaurus in one of these misinformation dinosaur videos.
Because this 33-foot walking tank had something most other giant predators didn't: actual working arms.
Okay, but what about Allosaurus and Spinosaurus, they also had working arms.
And trust me, that's way more terrifying than it sounds. Let's break down when this particular dinosaur was basically nature's way of saying nope. Most large predatory dinosaurs followed a simple formula: big head, big teeth, tiny arms. But Torvosaurus, this overachiever, decided to be good at everything. These arms weren't just decorative, they were powered by muscles that could bend.
And if you look at this chart, they're not even that big. So, like, sure, maybe proportionally they're bigger than a T-Rex's arm, but, like, these aren't the same proportion that, say, I don't know, a Megaraptor would have. This is not something that is going to be using its arms to only its arms to kill prey.
Press a car. Fossil evidence shows grip strength that.
Well, I'm not trying to say that Megaraptors would only use their arms, but, like, Megaraptors proportionally have much longer arms, so they would be used more often.
Would make a gorilla jealous. But here's where it gets really unfair for you. Torvosaurus had what scientists call distributed lethality. That's a fancy way of saying every part of this thing could kill you. Those massive feet, reinforced toe bones for explosive acceleration. That tail, specialized vertebrae for whip-like strikes.
I, again, have doubt for this. Why would it need to use its tail as a whip? This is not an iguana. Whip tails are often used to defend themselves from predators. This thing did not have any predators, so why would it have a whip tail?
Even its skull was built different, with stress-bearing structures that let it use its head like a battering ram. And just
Man, if this guy, again, if this person can bring up scientific sources to disprove all of what I'm critiquing him for, then sure. But I, again, have some serious doubt, and I would not be surprised if he's just pulling stuff from Jurassic Park and just making stuff to make it scarier as he goes along.
make sure you're thoroughly terrified. This thing hunted across 2 continents. That's right, we found Torvosaurus fossils in both North America and Europe, meaning it was so good at killing things, it became a successful apex predator on multiple continents.
I'm pretty sure the reason is that the continents used to be connected.
The only other predators that managed that kind of range were literally thousands of times smaller. And we're one of them, just for the record. But the scariest part about this dinosaur, recent studies of its brain case showed enlarged cerebral regions associated with problem-solving thinking. Translation, this wasn't just some mindless, brutish killing machine. It could learn, adapt, and worst of all, remember. If you somehow survived a first encounter, which you wouldn't, it would do better next time. It is so smart that it can adapt and overcome problems it makes. That's scary on a giant murder machine. At least most predators give you the dignity of dying to either their arms or their teeth. This one, it had a whole menu of ways to ruin your day.
A lot of dinosaurs could also use their feet. I mean, tail is a bit of a stretch, but like Allosaurus could also use its feet, Dromaeosaurus can also use their feet, T-Rex can also use their feet. It's not something exclusive to this animal.
But if you think being attacked is bad, wait and see what happens when you're the one doing the attacking. Our next dinosaur turned defense into an art form. And by art form, I mean turning attackers into little gooey paste on the floor. Have you ever played a video game where you encounter that one enemy with maxed out defense stats? Well, meet the Ankylosaurus, nature's version of a tank build with cheat codes enabled. But unlike your typical gaming tank, this 26-foot long fortress didn't just absorb damage, it gave it right back with interest.
This Ankylosaurus is the incorrect shape.
On that alone. Here's the thing about Ankylosaurus that most people miss. That armor wasn't just for...
And this armor is also incorrect. This looks more like the Jurassic World Ankylosaurus rather than the real one. So, if you're trying to be educational, please use images of accurate ones.
Defense. We're talking about bone plates.
And this is literally just the Jurassic World one. That's not even subtle.
Literally fused into its skin, layered like medieval armor, but better engineered. Scientists studying these plates found they were arranged in a way that could deflect attacks at specific...
This is even more blatantly Jurassic World. Come on, the Jurassic World Ankylosaurus is stylized. It's fine because it's a movie, but you're trying to be educational, aren't you? So you shouldn't be using it.
Angles, kind of like modern tank armor. Even T-Rex teeth couldn't...
This is better. This is a better design for Ankylosaurus, more accurate.
Punch through this defense system. But the real party trick this dino had, it was that tail club. Imagine a wrecking ball made of solid bone, powered by muscles that could
This is not Ankylosaurus, by the way.
Generate the same force as a monster truck impact. Recent studies showed that this club could swing at speeds of over...
I don't think this is an Ankylosaurus either.
45 miles.
If it is, it's incorrect.
per hour, creating an impact force strong enough to shatter the leg bones of any predator dumb enough to pick a fight. And here's where it gets really interesting. Ankylosaurus had surprisingly advanced blood vessel structures in its armor. This means it could
That is definitely not an ankylosaurus. That has no club tail.
regulate its temperature like a living tank, preventing overheating during combat. So no, you couldn't just wait for it to tire out and then knock it over and eat it. It was literally built for endurance battles. And the craziest part, those tiny eyes weren't a weakness. They were protected by bone rings so thick that even direct hits couldn't reach them.
I find it funny that he cropped that image because he cropped that image. That's funny. Wait.
Plus, its brain was encased in tank, preventing weren't a weakness. They were protected by bone rings so thick that even direct hits.
Yeah, that's a cropped image. On the other side of the image, there is a T-Rex using the log right here to knock it over from range. So this is misleading. If you're gonna use this, why are you cropping it? To make it seem like the Ankylosaurus is... Because it's being toppled over by a Tyrannosaurus holding a stick. So I don't know why you're using this. It doesn't really help prove anything of what you're trying to say.
Couldn't reach them. Plus, its brain was encased in a skull so dense, just like my own, paleontologists initially thought they were looking at a rock. This thing was literally
Well, they were looking at a rock. Fossils are rocks.
concussion proof. So your options were attack from the front, meet the headbutt. Attack from the sides, enjoy the armor. Attack from behind,
I don't know if it would headbutt. It might just bite.
say hello to the club. Maybe try asking nicely if it'll let you live. That's pretty much your only strategy here. But speaking of dinosaurs that turned defense into offense, our next dinosaur took a different approach. Instead of armor, it went with the best defense is a good offense strategy, and boy did it commit to that philosophy. But it's a plant eater, yeah, and hippos eat plants too. Doesn't stop them from being one of the deadliest animals in Africa. Stegosaurus took that energy and cranked it up to prehistoric levels. This 30-foot long walking Swiss Army knife didn't just defend itself, it turned combat into its own art form.
Again, showing the Jurassic World stuff, which is not meant to be scientifically correct. Well, like, it's the Jurassic World stuff is stylized frequently.
Let's start with those iconic backplates, because they're way more metal than you think. While scientists used to believe they were just for show or temperature control, new evidence suggests that they were basically early warning systems. These plates were packed with blood vessels and nerve endings so
Is that true? I feel like I've heard that be debunked, but I'm not sure.
sensitive they could detect movement from behind. Imagine having built-in motion sensors that could spot anything trying to sneak up on you. But
Okay, that's just absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's just... No. That is just crazy. Where are you getting that from? Are you saying it's like the third eye of a lizard where it can detect sunlight and it can see if there's like a shadow above it? Like, these... Even if these had the densest nerve clusters ever, or whatever, that doesn't mean it's going to see a predator coming. It doesn't have eyes. How does that even work?
were basically early warning systems. These plates were packed with blood vessels and nerve endings so sensitive they could detect movement from behind. Imagine...
Yeah, how does that even work? It's not in the water. If this was in the water, I could see it happening, because there could be the ripples in the water, but, like, this is not in the water, so how does that even work? You see what I mean? Like, he comes up with the most weird and random statements. I don't even know what to say to it.
Having built-in motion sensors that could spot anything trying to sneak up on you. But those plates were just the opening act.
So, apparently these plates can see you, I guess. Because blood vessels with sensitivity means they can see, and somehow detect something behind it. That makes no sense.
The real showstopper is what paleontologists call the thagomizer. Yes.
That's outdated. It's not meant to have four sets of spikes.
That's actually the scientific term for its tail spikes. Those four massive spikes weren't just...
Yeah, it has four of them, but not four sets. And this also isn't Stegosaurus. The plates are different and the tail is different. That's not Stegosaurus.
sharp. They were specifically engineered for maximum
And again, this is outdated because it has four sets.
damage. Each spike could pivot slightly on impact, creating wounds that were nearly impossible to heal. Imagine being stabbed by a giant knife and then that thing stabbing you twists its knife while it's in you. That's what this...
Can it really twist its tail like that? I'm not sure.
like. But here's where evolution got really creative. Stegosaurus had a specialized hip structure that let it swing that tail in a perfect arc, basically like a prehistoric golf pro. But instead of hitting balls, it was shattering bones. Computer models show it could swing these spikes with enough force to punch through the hide of any predator of its time. And just to make things extra unfair, despite weighing as much as a school bus, this thing could pivot on a dime. Those short front legs everyone makes
Okay, that is insanely outdated. That is crazy that you're using this artwork.
Fun of, they actually gave it the turning abilities of a sports car. You couldn't even circle strafe this thing like it was a video game boss. The only weak spot was its famously tiny brain, but good luck getting past the motion sensors, armor plates, and—
Come on, there's no way you actually think that is real. These motions, that's just ridiculous. This is probably the craziest statement in the whole video. That Stegosaurus used its plates as motion sensors to see predators. That makes no sense. The closest thing to that in nature is like the third eye of some lizards, which sits on the top of their head, and if a bird flies over, they can see a shadow, then they know to hide. But these are just because they're a cluster of blood vessels doesn't mean that they can see. This doesn't make sense. Like, if this was in the water, I can understand, because they might be able to feel the change in the water. But they're not going to feel the change in the air, like, when something's just walking towards it. This is ridiculous.
Bone-crushing tail spikes to reach it. It's like saying a tank's weak spot is the driver. Technically true, but completely unhelpful because you're not getting to that. But if you think the Stegosaurus is intimidating, our next dinosaur makes the Stegosaurus look like a peaceful negotiator. When this dinosaur evolved, it didn't just bring horns to a tail fight. It brought the whole armory. Remember how everyone thinks rhinos are just prehistoric tanks? Well, Triceratops looked at rhinos and said, "Hold my extinction level beer." This 30-foot long, 12-ton absolute unit wasn't just built for defense.
The frill looks too small on that, to be honest.
Engineered to turn any fight into a very bad day for whatever was dumb enough to challenge it. Let's talk about those horns, because they're not what you think. Most people assume they were just pointy sticks on its face, but recent studies of the horn core structure show something way more terrifying. These weren't just solid bone. They had shock-absorbing internal structures similar to modern ram horns. Translation, they were literally designed to survive multiple high-speed impacts without breaking. But here's the part that keeps paleontologists and the—
You do know that in that scene that you were showing, one of the horns ends up breaking, right? You do know that, right?
T-Rex up at night. Triceratops had a bite force that could rival industrial hydraulic presses. Those weird-looking beaks weren't just for munching plants. They could exert enough pressure to crush small boulders. We know this because we found processed rocks in fossilized Triceratops droppings. Yeah, this thing ate rocks for breakfast.
I mean, does that mean they chewed them, or does that mean they swallowed them and digested them somehow?
Imagine what it could do to you. And that famous neck frill, turns out it—
You're showing it way too small.
wasn't just armor. It was anchored to some of the strongest neck muscles ever evolved. Computer models show these muscles could generate enough torque to flip a car. Combined with those shock-absorbing horns, you're basically looking at a biological battering ram that could bench press a T-Rex. And the scariest part, they were social animals.
Why does the baby not have any horns? That's just really weird.
With surprisingly complex behavior. Fossil evidence shows they could coordinate in groups, using their massive bodies to form defensive walls while their horns faced outwards. Picture a prehistoric military formation, but every soldier weighs as much as a dump truck. So yeah, your options were face the horns, deal with the beak that treats rocks like potato chips, or try to get past the living shield wall of its family. Yeah, that's not gonna work, so maybe you gotta try befriending it with some nice ferns. So the next time someone says that they're built different or they could take on a dinosaur, just remember, we're talking about creatures that ruled the earth for 165 million years. The most advanced weapon you've got is probably a smartphone. And I've got bad news for you. None of these dinosaurs were afraid of getting ratioed on Twitter. But I invite you to think about this. If you had access to any weapon, do you think you could take on these dinosaurs?
I could take on the Velociraptor with nothing. And especially the Compy. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I guess the majority of the video was fine, but there were some extremely ridiculous statements, like the Stegosaurus using its plates as motion sensors, as if, like, somehow them having a cluster of nerves means they can sense a predator behind it. It makes zero sense. like that's like, and then compies can kill people and they can move in swarms of hundreds. No, it was a small insect eater. It was not built for hunting large prey. But yeah, some of his other videos are crazy, but hopefully this gets the point across to him, because if you're watching this, don't take this as hate. This is criticism. This is not a hate video. This is criticism. This is fair use. But yeah, thanks for watching.